Hey everyone, it's Fentony. This is going to be my His Dark Materials episode 7 video. If you haven't watched the episode yet, be careful for spoilers. The episode was called The Fight to the Death, which obviously refers to Yorick Bjarnason versus Jofr Ragnarsson. It was good, but I've got a few points to make. The bears didn't wear armour. They're armoured bears. I kind of understand why they done that. It's a fight to the death, no armour allowed. But they're armoured bears. We've been told the armour is like their soul, and it's a massive part of their culture. Jofr's armour is much grander and shinier than Yorick's, but it's not really practical for combat. Yorick made his own armour his own soul, whilst Jofr had his armour made for him. He made it as grand as possible. And as for the fight, it's pretty short, but it works. Because in some movies and TV shows, fight scenes, especially one-on-one combat, they get over the top. I would say a good example is Aragorn versus Lurtz in The Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring. The fight's pretty short and simple, but it's awesome. One of the best one-on-one fight scenes in film. Put that up against, let's say, Thorin versus Aslog in the Battle of the Five Armies, or Legolas versus Bolg. Far too much choreography, and it's over the top. Sometimes these shorter and less over the top fight scenes work better, in my opinion. But I will admit the fight's not perfect. Visually it looks awesome, but there are some changes from the books, and it's annoying a lot of fans. In the books, Yorick tricks Jofr by faking a leg injury, and Yorick has said several times you can't trick a bear unless they start thinking like a human. Yorick was tricked by the humans when he was drunk, and Jofr wants to be a human. And he's starting to turn Svalbard into a human palace. They're losing the bear culture. And also we know that Jofr drugged the bear that Yorick killed. I don't think that's been revealed to Yorick. I'm sure that gets revealed to him at some point during this fight. I'm sure Lyra reveals it. And now for the biggest talking point. In the books, Yorick knocks off Jofr's jaw and eats his heart as per custom. And of course that didn't happen on the show, and a lot of fans are not happy. You could say it's probably too much for television. It's not a massive deal in terms of storyline, but it's annoying and it's a big change. And it has me worried for future events in the books. But the fight itself was pretty good, and I did cheer for Yorick, but the book done it better. As for Will Parry, we're in the Subtle Knife material now, where Lord Boreal's agents invade his house, and by accident Will causes one of them to fall from the stairs to his death. I have mentioned this and explained this several times, but Will's been introduced in season 1 to get the audience used to him, because book 2 opens up with Will instead of Lyra. I didn't mind Will's story in this episode. It is important, but because all the big stuff's happening in Lyra's world, it was a bit distracting. There's no way Will's going to be as exciting as armoured bears fighting, and of course the reintroduction of Lord Asriel. Will's story and Lord Boreal's world hopping is not my favourite plotline, but it's important for season 2 onwards, and it's going to help with the season 2 pace, but you could argue it's sacrificing the pace of season 1. And I've got a point that I want to make about a change. When Will leaves his mother, in the books it's of his old piano teacher Mrs. Cooper, whereas in the series it's some random guy. I think it's his neighbour, I can't even remember his name. This is very confusing to me. Sometimes changes do make sense. You can't adapt a book word for word. But this makes little sense to me. What is wrong with Mrs. Cooper? Why did they have to change it? But sometimes changes do make sense. Sometimes it's too difficult to put that onto television. It doesn't always work on television, whereas in the books it works perfectly fine. Or maybe you cut some stuff out because you don't need it. It's not a big deal, but changing stuff like this, just simple things, gets confusing and it's very frustrating. They've got brilliant source material, and you could argue that His Dark Materials is very difficult to adapt. Almost impossible. It's not been perfect, but they've done a good job so far. But I will say this, Northern Lights is pretty tamed in terms of what comes next. The Subtle Knife and the Amber Spyglass have very complicated aspects in them. Northern Lights is pretty simple in comparison. Anyways, moving on, Daphne Keane was great as always. She's Lyra Silvertongue now, and I think she's going to continue to grow every single episode. Serafina Pekkala and Lee Scoresby do make short appearances. I was a bit worried about Lee Scoresby when he was first introduced, but last episode sealed it for me. I was worried about the comic relief. It was kinda too much in his first episode, but last episode showed us that he can handle the serious stuff. And book readers know there's a lot of serious stuff to come. Mrs. Coulter was fantastic as always, arguably the best character on the show. She didn't have a lot of screen time, but there were some big moments in here, from nearly strangling the nurse who had her demon cut from her, to convincing Father MacPhail to allow her to come north to find Asriel. And speaking of Lord Asriel, he's back. First time since episode 1. He only got a few minutes, but this is vital to the story. I did not send for you. His reaction to Roger, it was chilling. But I want you guys to post in the comments below your thoughts on this episode. I liked it, wasn't my favourite, but it does have some good scenes. Such as Asriel's return. You could argue it's a very disappointing episode. The bear fight didn't live up to it for me, and I am a bit worried about the future. I'm worried they're going to water it down too much. I have been much more critical of this episode than I have been of the previous ones. It's not because this is the worst episode, it's just because I was so hyped for the bear fight and everything else. York Bjornsson is my favourite character in the show, and it's armoured bears fighting. How epic can you get? Books and TV shows are very different, even if they're telling the same story. What works on the page doesn't always work on screen. I think book fans, that's me included, have to accept it's not going to play out word for word. There are going to be some changes. Some of them we agree with, some of them we don't. And I think we also have to accept that the show is going to be a much more simplified version of the books. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. Click here to learn about Amazon's Lord of the Rings losing its biggest star. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next one.